All right, hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. We're just gonna get right into it. This is part 3 of 5 of this series about transitions and self-discovery and you figuring out who you were to possibly figure out who you are now. I understand that this series is a little bit, it's a little bit like aloof, but I'm getting value out of relaying these stories and kind of like backtracking up to now to discover who we are now by going back to our past selves. And I just want to tap in with that at the beginning of every video so we can just kind of have an anchor where we're at before we start taking off. So for this one, I'm really going freeform on this because this is about, we started at 8th grade graduation, right? Then we went to high school graduation. Now we're at college graduation. So hello, welcome to 8-ish years later, which for me, it's not, college, not everybody goes to college. And I think this particular event or transition that you're going through or engaging with, it can be more about you becoming really an adult or becoming a self-sufficient adult with autonomy, agency. You have things, you have a life, you kind of know who you are, you're not quite sure. Maybe there's some transitions coming up, who knows? For me, this was around the age of 25. And so, yes, college went that long. I was definitely on the Van Wilder route. And the 3 things that we'll tap into, one is, what do you want? We've talked about who you want to be a little bit, but we're gonna get into what do you want, what is happening right now, and how do you see the world? Like, how do you really view the world? Because at this point, you have a giant past leading up to everything. You're here, you have a world around you. You have a circuitry of possibly people around you as well. But the thing for me when I went to college, or when I graduated college, 8th grade, as we spoke about in the other video, was really this big pomp and circumstance for the ceremony of it. And then for high school, this was this really big pomp and circumstance for it, but then it was like, bye. College, it was interesting because at this point, there's really no pageantry. There's really no veneer of, like, yay, you did it. Like, I say this with love, really nobody cares. I mean, to put it like bluntly, nobody cares except for you. And I remember a lot of friends graduating and then people would ask, like, hey, are you gonna walk? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, walk, are you gonna go through the procedure, like the graduation day, the pageantry, you gonna walk? And I was like, no. I went to 3 different colleges. I went to one college for a semester, absolutely physically couldn't deal. Went to another college for 2 weeks because I thought that this was the thing that people wanted me to do. And I was like, all right, you're supposed to go to college, right? This is the thing we do. So I did that and I crumbled. I physically, I think your physical state's kind of the last thing to go when you're crumbling from the inside out. Like, mentally I was gone, spiritually I was devoid. I couldn't do it. So I took the rest of those months off, took that summer off, and then I went back to a university. And I went there for, wait for it, I believe 6.5 years. And so I toured with the band for a long time, and I really stuck to who I was. I'm like, I know who I am, I know what this is, I know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going, which we'll get into in a little bit. And what happened was, at the end of it, I was like, F it, cool. Graduated, done. And there really wasn't a whole lot of pomp and circumstance to it. There was a very large debt owed to the student loans. However, the thing that we'll get into is I had to be able to set up the environment that I wanted in that place. So I was responsible for the things around me. Like, what kind of music did I want to make? What kind of friends did I want to have? What kind of friend did I want to be? And so these are all decisions now that you have your own framework. Because in the last video, we talked about people stepping out of like the framework that they were given, and now they got to make their own. And so, but you have this really special moment to kind of like reflect and be like, do I even want this framework? A lot of people will pick up and just to New York at this point, getting out of, like the Midwest and whatnot. And for me, it was deciding, okay, do I want this framework? You have this really, really dope moment where you're like, do I want the environment that's around me right now? Is this what I want? Am I sure? You get to like, you get to test it. You get to figure out, like, you get to check it if this is yours or not, or if you want this or not. And from there, you can make adjustments. And so for me, what I ended up doing was I ended up traveling a lot. The band departed. We had gone on actually after graduation, the band went on a real serious run because there's no school, no class. So I was fully dedicated. I was a full-time artist living in a closet just off campus. I was dedicating everything. So I didn't want to pay a whole lot of money for rent. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna live in this closet at my friend's apartment and they'll charge me X amount. And so I was just photoshopping posters, calling clubs, emailing clubs, and just doing that. And you find out very quickly if that's sustainable or not, or how that's gonna work out. And you really do find out your threshold for living in that situation. I can live in that situation. Baby, you can give me a hardwood floor. I can fall asleep. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. Is that conducive for raising a family? Probably not. But the point is that you have your circumstances and framework, and I had mine, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is not sustainable though. I'm not gonna be living in a closet forever. I'm not going to be sleeping on hardwood floors in North Carolina while on tour forever. I gotta get out of this. This has gotta elevate. So now we get into this place of, okay, you've got your framework, you got your environment that's in question right now. What can you grow? What can you grow? What's possible? What can be a little more sturdy here? Huh? What can be a little more sustainable here? And I think sustainable is a real big, it's a very important element to what is happening right now at this transition. Because in 8th grade, it wasn't about sustainability. It was like, I don't know, we're gonna make it to next month? What's going down? Like, what's dodgeball? We playing field hockey? What are we doing? Like, there's a very limited scope on like the long term. High school, it was like, oh, okay, I think we have a grasp on some things. I absolutely have no clue what's gonna happen in the next year. And now you're like, all right, what's gonna happen in the next 10 years? And you can really lay out possibly a 5-year plan. Who do you want to be by the time you're 30? Who do you want to be by the time you get the next job? Like, where do you want to live? What friends do you want to have? I mean, I'll keep repeating this stuff because you got to lock in with it. What kind of friend do you want to be? And I'm actually very eager for the friendship series. I can't wait to get into the friendship series. It's going to be so cool. But friendship is kind of this theme that's tapped into all of these videos at some point. So your environment, and then the other thing that I first mentioned is what do you want? What you wanted throughout all these transition points in your life, it's important, 100%. But the other question is what you want right now. This is my opinion, it's my feelings, it's my opinion. What you want right now is more important than anything you've ever wanted for yourself. So at this point, you have the ability to not only have a desire, but you have the ability to really manifest it like that. You're in this state where you've been on this earth long enough that you know how you can see the route to get that thing. Don't really worry about the route, but you can see the route, right? You can make it up in your head. So really lock in with what do you want for yourself? How do you want to be? Who are you? Like really, again, we get into be, do, have. Like, what do you want for yourself? And are you being somebody that would have those things? How would you be if you already had those things? Let's reverse engineer. Let's go from the end and just say, from law of assumption, I believe it is, assuming you already have these things, who are you? And really go there with it. What's the framework look like? You're now in this place where you can really, really start to manifest the reality that you want. And again, this can happen at any time in your life, but I'm saying right now, specifically at this point, My experience of that was like, I'm living on the road. I was doing it. Like we turn $5 into 500, come back and have $10. You know, like it was just the way that we managed our lives as creatives, as a touring band, just going around and making that happen. And now we did it until it wasn't sustainable. And so, I mean, not every band is entirely sustainable. Not every art project is sustainable. And the thing that I really reflected on, this has to do with the series right here, is it wasn't necessarily about what's the next album we can make. I'm still concerned with that. I'll make more albums, more music. For me, it then began to be, okay, how can we serve? Because making music and all this other stuff, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of this transition, but it's, how can we serve? How can we help others? Because there were a lot of people that, I mean, I'm sure that in your time, throughout whatever you do, you sent out that email or you sent out that text, no response, ain't helping you. Like that would happen to us all the time. And so I thought I didn't want to let that jade me. I didn't want to get jaded from that experience. And I didn't want the cycle of, you know, being spiteful to the next musician or thinking this is a zero-sum game. That's a train coming by the way. This being a zero-sum game really just like make me like, you know, like get me all into, you know, eat or be eaten type of mode. So I wanted to help other artists. I wanted to figure it out. And so I began to do that. And then the world opened up at that point. And it can do the same for you. But right now, you have to open up the world first. You have to figure out what is your world? What's the world that you want? So those are several things. You know, what do you want? And what is the environment that you want around you? And who are you being within all those spaces and understanding those wants now that you've graduated college or that you're 25 or wherever you're at. These moments of transition can be at any point in your life, any age of your life. It's one, having the awareness. If you don't have awareness of what's going on, you can't transmute. You can't change anything. You can't change your vibration if you're not aware of it. So the first thing is being aware that this transition is happening in your life. And then two, taking inventory on what is already around in your environment and what you want to change. And then lastly, what do you want from it? How can you grow it? How can you really start building? And we'll get into this later, but this leads me to kind of the final point. We talk about this all the time in therapy, is when you get into a relationship, and this can even be in a relationship with yourself, you want to build. You want to start building. You want to start, you know, the next day better than you were the day before. And so that's a really, really, really big deal, is what do you want to build on? And do you have an infrastructure, a foundation to build from? Like that's a real paramount question I think that you should start asking. Where I was building from was a closet and a Dell computer with Photoshop on it. Like that was all I needed. Could have used more, but that's all I needed. I had all the things that I needed, had a short bus, and then had 4 musicians that I could trust. And I was being a musician that they could trust as well. We could trust each other most of the time. Sometimes, you know, it would be like, where is so-and-so? Or, you know, like, or I would be showing up late too, who knows? But all that being said, that's up to you. It's up to you. And I look, if there's any framework, I think this is really important. In the comment section below, if there's any framework that you have discovered in your life, put it in the comments below, because the framework for me was having like a minimal place to live, musicians and friends to play music with, and then just having like a simple computer to make Photoshop, like just to make like designs from. That was it. That's all I needed. So, but my framework was very minimal. What is the framework you need? Like, what are you going for? Where do you want to build from? All right, it's up to you. I hope that I hope that you're able to at least take some inventory and take a look at some of the things around you that you're able to build and grow from. So, all right. That's it. That's it for today. Appreciate you. We'll see you in the next one.